Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Scots on the Run podcast, where we take a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening in the Gordon College cross-country and track and field programs. In this episode, we're recapping our indoor regional championship meet this past weekend at the track at New Balance in Boston. 8 school records dropping this past weekend, including 3 from our guests today. Amaris Goodwin and Alivia Geraghty will be joining us in just a moment. But first, as always, Coach Miela, how are you?
I'm great. I'm tired. It's been... last weekend, those days were longer than I thought they'd be. But I think it's because we brought a bigger group than we've had in the past, or at least we've had a more full group. We had a lot of individuals qualify. We took some really strong relays. Most of them were really strong relays. And, man, it was just a good weekend.
Well, welcome, Amaris. Alivia, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good?
Yeah.
So, I guess we should... Who do you want to start with here?
Well, both you guys had great performances this weekend. Both had big PRs. So, I don't know. Why don't you tell us about? Take us through the weekend. Why don't we start with you? Just what your mindset was going into the weekend and kind of how that all came together.
Yeah, well, I had a really good week of practice leading up to New England. So we kind of switched some stuff around. So I was doing throws talk, I guess, 3 turns in weight, and then I switched to 2 to get faster, so I was like technically sound, but also faster in my turns, so I could hopefully PR. That was the goal. So like 3 days leading up to it, those were really nice practices, so I was feeling confident going into it. And then I started a routine, I guess the beginning of the indoor season, of writing down my goal for the meet the night before, and just reflecting on not only this is a PR I want to hit, but also I'm gonna go to this meet with a posture of gratitude just to be there, and just having fun and going, not necessarily just a PR and whatever. So I think that has been super super helpful for me, which is looking at not only my goals in terms of distances, but also my goals in terms of mental state, I guess.
Sure. So how about what'd you write down before this meet?
Let me think. I don't know. I do write down the PR I want to hit. So for the last couple meets, I've written down 16 meters a few times, because that's what that has been my goal for this indoor season. And then I'll also just write down I'm confident, I know I have done the training that's gotten me this far, and that I have the ability to reach my goals, so that in my head I'm okay, even at the meet I'll be in line, and I'll just be telling myself this is practice, you do this so many times in practice, there's no reason it needs to be any different today. And even Coach Tolios, our throws coach, before I threw at New England, was you need to visualize yourself in the gym, you're in the batting cage, this is no different than practice, you've been throwing bombs all week, and you can do that here. And so I think that's been super helpful, just working a lot on the mental side of throws and track in general.
Sure. So last year, your personal best in the weight throw was 1450, right? 5.0. You opened the season at 1480, so you made a jump of 30 centimeters.
Yeah.
And then you made a 60 centimeter jump, and you threw 1540 when you got back from Christmas break in the middle of January, and then you just threw 16 meters even. So first off, we really appreciate you making all your throws nice round numbers so it's easy to remember.
Yeah, just for you.
So what was the first thing that went through your mind when you heard 1600?
I thought they were lying. I was my first throw was 15, low 15 or something, maybe mid 15. I was okay, that's a really good mark to start. I was happy with that. And then they said 16, and I was what? I was expecting it, but at the same time, I was trying not to put those expectations on myself to break 16, because that was a pretty big jump, half meter jump, over half meter jump. But I did feel really good after that throw. You were sitting on the track, and I was oh, that was a good one. I was I know that was a good one. Just wait. So it was funny. They said 16. I went over to Coach Tolios, because I didn't hear it right away. He was like, yeah, that was 16. So, like, 16.5. I was like, ain't no way. I just said 16. And so, yeah, that was super encouraging. Just, like, work paid off.
And last year at New England's, you threw 13.07.
Yeah.
That was a different experience for a freshman.
Yeah.
Did you ever think, I don't know, going into this indoor season, what did you think your ceiling was?
Honestly, because I ended last season at 14.50, I thought realistically that I would hit like mid 15-ish. Yeah. Maybe a little bit less. Because it's hard to make jumps in weight, I think, more than it is in like camera or anything else outdoor, just because it is so heavy. Mm-hmm. That's like you're not going to make like meter upon meter PRs in one season. So I think I knew that I could hit 16, but I thought my ceiling was like mid 15.
And so what do you think made the difference this time around?
Confidence, for sure. Because, like, especially, like, thinking about New England's last year, like, that meet was really, really difficult for me. I think I didn't have the confidence in myself, and, like, I let, like, the people competing around me kind of influence the confidence I had in myself, rather than, like, just knowing, like, I don't need to throw 20 meters like the top throwers are in New England, but, like, I know that I can be competitive in this space. Yeah. So I think realizing that this year was definitely impacted that for me.
Yeah. Well, and then in a similar sense, Amaris, last year at New England's, you ran 26.11, right? And that was your indoor PR at the time. I think your outdoor PR before that was like a 25.87 or something like that. Like I think you'd only at that point. You had only broken 26 maybe once. Is that true? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was outdoor New England's my sophomore year.
Right.
Yeah, I ran like
25.82.
Yeah.
I got it. Yeah. So, for you, all right, take us through your race. Take us through your weekend. Before we jump right to what you ran.
Okay.
Just take us through the weekend.
I remember just being very excited all week before the meet because I knew that my training has been going really well and I had some really good races like over the past season. So that helped, like, going into the competition really excited and also just feeling really confident from everything else that's been going well. So I basically just made sure that I was eating really healthy and getting at least like 9 or 9.5 hours of sleep a night because I was like, okay, well, if I'm feeling confident and excited and practice has been going well, I'm gonna do like every other factor that I can to like help boost me, like beyond just having good practices and everything. So then I had it was a 2-day meet because the 60 prelims are on Friday and the 60 finals and 200 are on Saturday. So that's like a whole other thing. I was like, I need to dial in for 2 days in a row here. So I feel like it was just, I did a very good job with staying confident, excited, and just like knowing that I had to like dial in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after you ran your 60, 787, it was your personal best. I think you came into the weekend, I think you were like 10th or 11th ranked, and then you made finals with that 787. Mm-hmm. So I guess, take us through Friday night. You made finals at that point, and you got the 60 and the 200. Was running the 60 on Friday, was that helpful for you? Like in terms of, did you gain any confidence, or was it just like I'm dialed in on the 2, that the 60 is just fun, and I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, this 60 as an event is definitely one of the harder ones for me to dial into just because it's so short, and I feel like it takes me at least 60 meters to like build up to my top speed, so I feel like it's over before it even begins. But like it definitely helped give me confidence because since I jumped up like 3-ish spots to make finals, I was like, oh, like I just had my best day in the 60. Some other girls didn't, so in a way I'm kind of more ready or more prepared to do well in the 200 as well.
Right.
Because like the past 2 other meets that we had at VU, my 200 time was my PR, but my 60 time was not. So I thought that it was a really good like translation, like, oh, I'm running this fast in the 60, so that'll help me run even quicker in the 2.
Sure.
And then So yeah, I think it was helpful. It also helped me get some of the like meet jitters out and realize like it helped me realize that like, okay, like I got this, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I think it was helpful.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then, all right, so then you go to finals. I mean, you ran 790. Another, your consistency has been impressive this entire season. First meet of the year, you went 25:51, which is the exact time you ran to finish the outdoor season in the 200, and then you ran 788 twice in a row. That was early December, and then when you ran the 6200 twice at BU, you went 795, 25:18. You went 796 the next time, and 25:18 again. So again, going 787 and 790 is actually less consistent than you have been. So now take us to 200. You're the first person in Gordon history to break 25. You're currently ranked 39th in the nation with that time. But yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know, when you saw 24.99 pop up on the screen, what was going through your mind?
I was just psyched, and I also thought, wow, I really cut it as close as I possibly could have.
Sure.
I feel like I'm pretty good at that. Like last year when I wanted to break 8 and I ran 8 flat, but it was like a 7.99 that like rounded up or something. Yeah. I just feel like throughout my whole college track career, I've just cut it close. So I was like, of course I would do that.
Sure.
But it was very exciting. I was very happy it wasn't like a 25 flat or something like that. So I was ecstatic because especially when I came into this indoor season, my goal was just to break 26 seconds. So, and then I did that the first meet by running a 25.51, which I did in outdoor. And like, I was already so excited with that because I was like, oh great, I'm starting at where I ended last season at. So I have so much more time to grow. And then even when I ran like my 25.18 at the BU meets, I was like, holy crap, like this is amazing. But I still wasn't like in my head like, okay, well I'm going to break 25 now. Like it probably wasn't until like after a lot more training and a lot more being like, wait, this is actually really possible. And Coach Miela's encouragement.
Sure.
I was like, wait, like this is actually a possibility for me. So then I went into that 200 race being like, there's no reason for you to not do it right now. Like you have the training, you have the confidence, like everything points to breaking 25. So you're just going to go out there and do it. So I was like on the line, like I'm doing that right now. Yeah. So then when I crossed the line and I saw that I actually did do it right then, I was very excited.
Do you remember the first thing you said as you were walking off the track?
I actually did it? I don't know.
I think you said, because I remember I was going nuts. Well, first off, the initial time that pops up on the bottom, like the live time, popped up as 25:01, and the video that Henry Lonstein took, you can see me because he stops it, and my hands go to my forehead, and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I see the time stop at 25:01, and I'm waiting for the official your time to pop up first, and then 24:99 pops up. I was like, I remember I yelled out, I let out a scream, and then as I was walking over and you were coming down the steps, you were like, I would break it like that. It's true. I mean, like again, you ran 8 flat. I'm pretty sure you'll probably go out and run 11.99 to open the season, or 12 flat or 12.01 or something like that in the 100. So, well, you have quite a bit more of a progression because you've raced a little bit more than Liv has competed in the weight. But your first ever 200 indoor college was 27.74. That's on a flat track, so that converts to like 27.2. But then your best in 2023 was 26.70, so you took about a half second off. And then you went down to a 26.11 like we talked about, and now 24.99. So yeah, I mean, I think that's an impressive progression. I don't know, as you said, you wanted to break 26 by the end of the year, or excuse me, by the end of the indoor season. And yeah, I don't think either of us expected you. I knew you could do this as somebody who coaches you every day. I knew you were capable of doing this throughout the fall. I just didn't know if it was going to happen this early in the season, which is super exciting given that we still have about 8 or 9 weeks left in our outdoor season, which is kind of what brings me to the next thing. Is so for you two, whoever wants to kind of take this, is what's the thing that now that you've ended on such a high note, what are you looking forward to, and I guess how do you keep this momentum going?
I'm definitely looking forward to, obviously, our trip to Myrtle Beach. We're leaving in a few days, so that'll be super fun. That's just an excited, like, team bonding. We get to compete in warm weather. Like, that'll be super fun. In terms of, like, how do you keep the progression going? I mean, I think staying confident, but also knowing that you need, like, at least for me, like, I'm changing events. So, like, hammer's similar to weight, but it's a little bit different, and, like, you have to train a little bit differently. So,
Yeah, you were saying you were practicing the other day. You're like, it feels so light.
Yeah, it's like I feel like going from 20 pounds to 9 pounds is like a lot. I felt
That's
like
crazy.
I was just throwing nothing. But I think like having the motivation to like you have like these goals that you want to hit, and you know that you still need to work hard to get there. I think is important. Like being confident, but also knowing you need to work hard. I think is important to have both of those aspects, because I think you can look at goals you have and say like, oh, it's gonna be really difficult to get there. I'm gonna have to work really hard. Like, I don't know. But then I think it's important to kind of have the mindset of like, I'm gonna have to work really hard to get there, but I'm confident that I can, and that I have like the internal like motivation and drive, I guess, to get there. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. How about you, Amaris?
Yeah, so I feel like if anything, running 24.99 made me like more fired up to try to go quicker. Like I'm not like content with that now. I'm like, it's amazing, and it's something that I honestly never thought I would do. Like I remember watching some girl I raced against last year at Outdoor New England's run like a 24.97 or something. And I was like, holy crap, like that's amazing. Like I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get there, but like that would be so cool. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like it was like some like almost impossible number, but like I was like, oh, I just gotta keep working for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like actually running that and knowing that I have that ability, I feel like it's just gonna help propel me through the outdoor season as well, because like since I can do that, I want to see how much more I can improve off of that, especially since I did it a whole lot earlier than either
Sure,
of us thought
sure,
would have
yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
Because like realistically, it probably would have been like, oh, maybe I'll break 25 by the end of outdoor.
Yeah.
I always typically run a little slower in comparison to an indoor. Like,
Yeah.
so I was like not expecting that. So if anything, it just makes me really excited. And like Liv mentioned, Myrtle Beach is going to be so fun. We're gonna get to run in warmer weather for the first time.
We are gonna run. It's not just gonna be a good time. You know, we will.
Well,
we will compete.
I
know.
mentioned that was the first point I mentioned.
I understand.
But yeah, so it's like we're gonna be running in warm weather, which is so exciting because last season we didn't really have that until New England's.
Right.
So especially coming off of the end of indoor running at 24.99, I'm just really excited to be able to compete in warm weather like immediately after that.
Yeah. The early forecast looks like it's. I mean, I think the coldest day or the lowest high during our duration out there is 68, and that's on Tuesday. The rest of them are low 70s, mid 70s, pretty sunny. I as a coach, the only thing I'm worried about is obviously the travel, how we handle that. And then I'm honestly worried we're going to be sunburnt by the time we get to the competition. So we might get a Costco-sized thing of sunscreen. Make sure
I'm gonna wear
everybody's-
my bucket hat every day.
Bucket hats are essential on a trip like this, but yeah.
Well, just to kind of cap
Yeah.
this weekend,
Yeah.
like I mentioned, it wasn't just these three records that dropped.
Right.
Jenna Lindsay,
Freshman.
139.25 in the 600.
She tied for 9th place, which doesn't happen often in running events. She tied exactly for 9th place to the 100th of a second. And so that was impressive. Top 8 get all region. Both of you were all region. By the way, what were you seated, Liv, before you came in? Do you remember?
I think I was seated 11th or 12th.
And you got 5th?
Yeah.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun.
So, yeah, I mean, that's first off, props to you. But then, yeah, Jenna tied for 9th, top 8 get all region. As a freshman, that's a pretty cool accomplishment. And then she broke her own school record, which she set on a flat track 2 weeks earlier than that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then Rachel Brennan,
Rachel Brennan.
a little bit faster.
Yeah,
It was
I mean,
600th of a second.
yeah.
off
I mean,
of
she
what
basically
had just
not
run,
even a
but
10th of a
it
second.
counts.
Yeah. She got caught. Yeah, the race
Yeah.
got out a little slow on her, but she's certainly capable of
Yeah.
running faster. Yeah.
And then the men's 4x4, Peter McGinn, Henry Lonstein, Daniel Tuning and Roland Sanderson.
Those guys stepped up.
3:26:57.
Yep.
And then our women's and men's
DMRs,
DMR,
yep.
both of those records dropped. So, and you, I remember you and Corden were talking during the meet, like, I guess
Yeah.
Carolyn was running the 5K. Rachel obviously has that record.
Yeah.
But talking about, like, could we set a record in every other event
Sure.
that we're running? I mean, you
Pretty
guys,
much.
you expected to see
Yeah.
as many records go down. What is it about this team and how they've been building to this point in the season that made you so confident in what they could go out and do this weekend?
No, I think that's a good question. I mean, I think our team, first off, it helps to have a lot of people who set the record on your roster, right? So that means when they're running,
And I just
Yeah.
not to interrupt, but I asked you before we started
Right.
recording. What was the weight throw record before Liv got here
I
last
think
year?
980,
And now it's
986, something like that. Now it's 16 meters, and the next fastest. So Amaris broke the indoor 200 record last year, but before that it was 26:54. So
Is that Corinne's record probably?
yes, yeah, or Hannah Gibb.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Corinne has the outdoor.
There you go.
But yeah, so all that to say, it's one. I mean, when you think about the people you just listed, a lot of them have been working for more than 2 years, right? Like Daniel Tuning has our indoor 200 record. He ran well. He just didn't PR. But yeah, so he's been with he's a junior, right? So he's in his third year training with us. Same with Amaris, Rachel, Carolyn. Like these people, I think it's really hard to overcome consistency, right? Like if it's hard to beat the people. We talk about Alexis Boynton in the weight throw all the time and how she's kind of the gold standard. But yeah, she's been doing it for. I mean, she's on her grad year now, so she's literally been doing it for 3 more years than you have, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that's a big thing. Is I think the team that we have now has put in the work consistently, day in and day out. And because we have those people who've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, people like Liv, Roland Sanderson, Jenna, Joseph, some of these younger talented athletes can kind of step in and have success earlier on because they're being shown, what it means and what it looks like. Okay, if I commit now, I can actually get there, right? Amaris was talking about how she looked at somebody who ran 24:97 and was like, wow, that's amazing. And now she's got teammates looking at her going like, that's amazing. That like it's making it real for people on our team that it is possible, right? And that's an essential step for the program in general,
For sure.
Before we go, I want to make sure I shout out a couple other performances. The women's 4x2 almost broke the school record. They were .12 off of the 4x2 record. Lizzie Gaskell had a great day. She PR'd in the 60. And I don't know where she was seated, but I think she ended up being like 14th overall, something like that in the 60, and had a phenomenal leg in the 4x2. I just think that we had, our goal coming into this is that everybody had their best indoor performance of the season, and we pretty much for the most part, with just little things here and there, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 performances weren't at their best, so I wouldn't say it was a perfect meet, but overall it was really encouraging to see a big stage, and people just, even though we don't necessarily quote unquote peak for this meet, it was good to see people step up and have their best performance. And that gives us, I think, a lot of confidence and excitement as we go down to Myrtle Beach, which the whole point of it is, as they were saying, is to get a meet in warm weather, which again, we hope can start our outdoor season with a lot of momentum.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll be back, I guess, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I still got to work. I'll be in the library all week while you guys are enjoying the warm weather down in Myrtle Beach. But we'll get back together here once you guys get back, and hopefully have even more to talk about then.
Hopefully.